Okay, Commissioners, the next item is item number 4 on the agenda. It's an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn, Block 258, Lot 137. It's 54 State Street in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District. Docket number 167221. An apartment building built in the late 19th century. The application is to alter the facade and areaway, relocate HVAC units, and legalize and modify facade and areaway alterations performed without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits.
Good morning, Commission. Joshua speaking, Preservation staff. The application before you today is at 54 State Street between Willow Place and Hicks Street in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District. This building is one of a matching pair with 52, which is seen to the right, the west of this building. In June 2006, a DOB permit was issued as error that allowed the effective demolition of the building. The mistake was discovered and the work was stopped, but not before a significant amount was performed, including removal of all the interior floors, walls, windows, excavation of the front airway, removal of the front stoop and doorway, and airway. Later in 2006, a public hearing and public meetings were held. At that time, the commissioners approved an at-grade entrance to replace the missing stoop. Approved a new door to match the historic, an areaway fence to match that at 52 State Street, a bluestone flag sidewalk excavating the areaway, creating new openings and making at the basement, making the historic basement windows into blind windows, a recessed matching brick. Also approved were stair and elevator bulkheads on the roof, and new windows to match the historic windows, and the fire escape was removed. That was in 06. In 07, subsequently later years, it discovered that the cornice had been removed without permits. A permit amendment was issued to install a replica permit. It was also discovered that the rear and side parapets were being raised without permits. A permit was issued to return those to their original heights. In 2010, it was discovered that the stone window sills of the front facade and brick corbelling had been replaced with a cast concrete bullnose sill. Without permit, in 2011, it was discovered that a concrete sidewalk rather than bluestone had been installed, a tall 6-inch fence installed on top of a stucco curb. The basement had been had stucco applied to the basement. No blind windows or openings were installed. The landing entry was a black tile rather than bluestone flags. Light fixtures had been installed. And the rear parapet had been raised as previously not by any previous violation, and there were air conditioner units on the roof. In 2013, the fence was cut down, stucco was removed from the door surround, the window sills were ground flat, the bullnose was ground up, they were still cast concrete, and the facade was again repointed. All of this again without permits. Even some of the so-called corrective work was done without permits, and that is the condition you see today. The proposal today involves modifying and correcting some of those elements, also legalizing other aspects of that. And Mr. Philip Anzalone is the current project architect here today to present this. I will note he was not involved in any of the previous work, but just now today, just from last year forward. So,
could I just ask
yes.
So this work, illegal work, took place in a number of years rather than it being discovered in a number of years. I just wanted to clarify that.
It did take place, yeah. Initial demolition work was in 06. We issued permits for corrective work, and the commissioner approved certain things. Approximately once a year, once every 2 years, we walked by and discovered that something additional had been done. So those years I gave you for each of those aspects, the work had not been done previous to that. It was done somewhere between 06 and 07, 07, 08, in between those time frames.
Okay, but not in 2013 or something. It was done in those.
The last time any work was done without permit, I believe, was in 2011. But I don't believe anything's been done since.
Okay, just trying to get a sense of what happened.
2013 was the last of the last work that had been done without permit was done in 2013, but nothing has been done since then.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Commission. So hopefully that makes makes a little bit of sense. It's very confusing, I agree. I'll try to help you out as much as I can. As mentioned, I was only brought on in September of last year by the owner to help rectify some of the problems that have come from the previous submission. So, oops, sorry. So just to go back, this is the building as drawn, as we're hoping to create it, and the location, which is right on State Street. The picture from I believe it's 1965. 65, yes. 2007, and then 2014 as it exists today. And what I'd like to do is there's 9 specific items, and I think the easiest is just to go through all 9 one at a time. And we presented this to the community board, and we're going to hear their responses too as well. So the first one is the existing cornice. And the cornice was replaced without approval. The cornice itself has a slightly different proportion, you can see here, than the neighboring building. However, this height change, if you look back at the previous, well, it's very hard to see, but the height change is there. It's due to the sloping nature of the street. So the street slopes down, the height changes slightly in the cornice itself. So that is not, that was something that was an existing condition. However, as you can see, the proportions of the elements are slightly off. I will add that the owner is not happy with the work that was done on the cornice and wants to replace it anyways. He wants to replace it as soon as we get the permit to fix all of this. So that would be part of an addition that we would want to add to this.
I'm not sure I understand. So is a part of the proposal today to change the cornice?
That is something he's only told me. I don't have any, he wants to do it.
Okay, so right now it's just to legalize the existing cornice?
Right now, he wants, it's just to legalize the existing cornice, but he's told me, but I don't have anything, that I could definitively say that he's going to do it. So I don't want to tell you that.
Okay, but the historical condition was the cornice, did it match up with the adjacent building, or did?
Yes, it
It
did.
did.
Yeah. So you can see it's kind of chunky. The style of it is not the same as it was. It's just not a good reproduction of the one next to it. The material now is, I believe he said it's a wood, but since I didn't, I wasn't the architect of it.
Is it a new owner, or are you working for the owner who did all these things?
It's the same owner, yeah. It's the same owner, yeah.
You got my sympathies.
I'm sorry, yeah. Little did I know what I was getting into, right? Okay, so that's the condition on this, and here's the section of it. Sorry about the dimensions, you can't read them very well. Should I just continue through all of 9 of them? Okay.
Yes.
So the second is as was mentioned, the bullnose was ground down. The pointing in the brick doesn't match. This was the previous. This is the next door building. Apologies. Which and these are the conditions that were historic, the existing and the proposed. We proposed to fix this because, of course, it's not very nice and it has to be repaired. So we're going to propose that we're allowed to. Propose to replace these back to the historic conditions, and to have I'm going to go out on site and make sure that the brick and the pointing match the existing conditions. So that's the number 2.
And this one, you're not legalizing the existing condition, you're actually changing it?
We're going to repair it back to its historic condition with landmarks. Okay. Number 3 is the fence. This was the conditions before the construction work. This is the conditions now. The approved railing looked like this, and what happens is that it's not exactly what was approved. There's not 2 sets of caps on it. There's only one. They're really tall, and there's a lot of extra tall metal. So what we're proposing to do is this. We're going to cut down all of the metal that's below a certain height. We're going to keep a 3-foot distance here because that's a drop below there. Run it straight, and then this is the neighboring building you can see. And so what happens is we have a variation here, but we're going to cut the line down, replace the caps on these tall ones. So these will get cut 6 inches all the way across, and the caps be put back on.
But those were the ones that were approved.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
the approved. This is the approved from the previous architecture.
Right, and that looks like what was built, closer to what was built and what you're proposing now.
Well, this is closer to the neighboring building.
I don't know, the lower fence may work better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have continued this a little bit further, but what we're proposing is closer in design to the neighboring building. If the commission wishes to keep it as is, that's,
Photo that shows
It's part of a
the two
row,
buildings side
yeah,
by side.
it's not, yeah, we don't,
but they are part of a row or a small part of a
A
row?
pair of two.
Pair of
two
two?
yeah, there's two, right,
Just
there's two.
two,
mentioned.
okay.
So does this,
We've got
the
one.
proposal match the adjacent one, or it's sort of in between?
Proposal will more closely match the adjacent one.
It's more closely than what is there existing.
I believe so, yeah. The existing is taller. Initially, the initial violation was they installed a 6-foot tall fence.
Yeah.
Again, without permits, they cut the height down, modified it a little bit, but not entirely. There's still some 6-foot tall posts in place against the building.
Yes.
Um,
Let me see, there's
Some
a
of the elements,
picture next, I'm just looking to see if we have a picture of the adjacent next to it. No, we don't. We could. I apologize about that. It's hard to see in the
yeah.
video.
Unfortunately, in the bottom of the drawing, the right corner of the bottom right of the drawing, there you can see a sliver of the neighboring fence. The initial approval from the commissioner was to match that fence. Instead, the 6-foot version was installed, and they've cut it down to whatever it is
It's
now.
48 inches, I think.
But you can also see in the top drawing that they didn't account for the slope. So you see that
Right.
continuous curb line. So
Right.
when that was constructed,
Right, this
So
is
it's
our
much
It
drawing,
came
right?
out much taller, is that what you're
That's
saying?
right.
Because it didn't adjust for the slope.
Right, and I'm not sure where they measured from. Maybe they started here and then just kept going. And this is our drawing that's more accurate, and that's this condition that you have. So this being 3 feet puts this at approximately, closing in on 4.
And so where they're side by side, that, the new one is
Here.
still, what, 6 inches? or
Yes,
8 inches
exactly.
taller?
But the current one is over a foot
Yes, no,
taller,
I got
so,
that.
yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm just wondering if it shouldn't just come down and be that height of the, or at least there, starting
Here.
at the same height. What
Yeah.
would that height be? Is
Well,
that too low?
I don't know if you propose this kind of slope, or does this ends up really low, then I'm nervous, because it's a drop, you know, and it's in a public street, so. Should I
Yes,
go
please
ahead?
continue.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I just want to make sure everybody's had their chance to discuss. Okay, so this is the location of the areaway, and there was a discussion that was just had by Mr. Speakman about the legalization of some of the components of this, I believe. But what has happened now is that I guess it's easiest from the plan view. It's very hard to get a photo diagonally down into these. This was the approved drawing set, which allowed for the change of the configuration of the windows and doors and filling them in. And the stair in this case happens to be from this direction. What ended up happening is this stair actually comes down here. So it's a sort of mirror image of what was originally proposed. And then what happened is, as far as I can tell, this is the previous condition and the windows that were going to be filled in, and they filled in the brick, but then stuccoed up to cover up all of the brick infill, right? And so that's what the condition is. The owner would like to legalize this condition. There's been discussion from the community board, and I understand their point, that at least the stucco should be removed from the street, from the level of grade and up, so that you cannot view it from the street as a minimum. And you know, that's the sort of position I'm in here now, is that you know, we're as you know, as per the owner's request, I'm requesting, you know, legalization of this condition, or some modification of this to accommodate what. Yeah, I guess that's it. Should I keep going, or do you want to
Yes.
do questions on each one? Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is, there was a the original idea at this areaway bridge, let's say, is to have bluestone. And what happened is they put in tile, and so the owner is willing to take out the bluestone, or take out the tile and replace with bluestone as per the original drawing condition. So this is one of our proposals, to replace the existing tile with bluestone flags at that location. So that would be done. Number 6 is the sidewalk. This was the conditions in 2006. There's a mixture of concrete and some broken bluestone and so on. The condition that was replaced, you can see in these images here, there's a bit of work going on in a neighbor. You can see that it's a concrete sidewalk. It matches most of the rest of the street. It's a little whiter because it's new. We feel that when it wears, it will darken in character and match the existing neighbors. And so our proposal is to legalize the replacement of Bluestone flags, which was what was approved originally with the cement since it's installed now, and that be legalized. So that's our proposal at that point.
Okay, yeah.
What was originally approved was bluestone, yes, in the drawings.
Right.
I'm sorry?
So they're going back to what was originally
Yes,
approved?
Yes, that was originally approved. It was not done that way. Now it's a concrete sidewalk.
Is the sidewalk immediately to the near side of the photo bluestone? That's concrete?
This one's concrete, yes. Yeah,
So it's concrete on both sides?
it's concrete on both sides, yes. Okay, number 7. Okay, so this has to do with the bulkhead parapet, and was mentioned a bit about the parapet, the raising of that, and the bulkhead itself, which is here. The bulkhead's required because it's it's a multifamily housing, and so we have to have a bulkhead onto the roof. This is the view from Atlantic Avenue, and this is the view from Willow Place. This was during construction as well. There was originally, if I'm not mistaken, a bulkhead in the drawing set, but I don't know the exact height that the bulkhead was.
These bulkheads actually are compliant.
Oh, these are
Bulkheads
compliant.
now are fine, it's the parapet that's.
Oh, I see the parapet. And I'm sorry, my apologies then. So since our discussion, so the parapet. So that's my error on this. Then we don't have this necessarily there. But the parapet is raised up to provide the 3-foot. It's an inhabited deck now. There's a roof deck on top that people access, the public access, and so they're up 3 foot for parapet reasons to keep people from falling off. And so that's the conditions as they are right now. And so the request is that we legalize the parapet as it is.
Do you have any closer photographs of that, or that
Then-
show what was there before, maybe?
Probably, I mean, if you look to the building on the left, it was a pair.
Oh, right, okay.
And so it would
The
have,
original parapet was about 12 inches taller than the building to the left,
Right.
and now it's about 3
And
feet
there's,
tall.
it looks like there's some kind of corbelling or detailing at the top of that other building? Is that true?
Not that we know of. The
It looks like it
neighboring building
projects.
has been altered at the rear facade as well. So
Right.
Oh, okay.
But the windows on the back were altered too?
Yes. Yes.
The neighbor was altered. This building has the original window configuration, the
Really?
single punch windows. The neighbor has been altered with the pair.
So I'm just looking at the height.
But the height
it's
seems-
the same height as the parapet.
I think the interior top floor roof height is now taller than the original roof height before, yes.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Number 8, this is a bit closer actually, zoomed in. There's a set of air conditioning condensers that are on the roof in this configuration. You can see them here, and by the time they get to the edge, obviously you can see them much more. We propose, in order to hide them, that they're put back in this configuration, so you would end up seeing only the few that are in the back at the bulkhead area. And so that we would change the steel and move the condensers around. So that was the proposal, to actually do the modifications here. And the last one is when the stucco was removed from the surround of the door, as mentioned, it was not repointed or replaced with brick that matches. You can see this here. And the proposal is that we replace the brick, when the brickwork is being done for the sills, that we replace the brick and pointing and match to the existing brick condition. So that is, the proposal is to replace and repair that.
In the picture that you have that shows the previous condition?
This one? Yes.
Yes. So, and then the approved plans, so the approved plans change the dimensions of the door?
Yeah, right, these are not my drawings, these were from the drawing of of existing and proposed in the previous architect's drawings.
Okay, so the narrow, because it seems like the door became narrow or longer or something, taller.
It's the proportions have changed, yes.
Right, something was there. Okay, but that was approved by the commission at some point, is that
No,
correct?
because that one down at the bottom has a horizontal-looking transom, the approved plan, and the one that's constructed is now much more
Yes,
vertical.
no, I completely agree with you. I'm just trying to understand that the change that was previously approved still did allow for the, I don't know if it's an elongation or the fact that they removed the stairs, but something happened, right? Okay.
Right, there
Yeah,
was,
that's correct. The middle photograph there, the drawing there is the condition at the time of designation, had a non-historic wood door surround
Okay,
installed.
all right,
And
okay.
the arched opening of the doorway did have brick infill inside the top of the arch, so there's a squared opening with a brickwork arch over it. The previous approval from '06, the stoop had been removed previously under the accidental DOE demo permit. The commissioners approved that attic grade landing and a taller door opening. At that time, there was no proposal to remove the brick at the arch above the door. What had been installed at some point without permits, that brick was removed and the transom was enlarged to match the brick arch above, and the wood panel installed there now. And then subsequently in 2011, the historic door surround was brick. Sometime around 2011, a contractor, when they stuccoed the basement, also stuccoed the brick surround around the doorway. They then removed that in about 2013 and patched it with non-matching, non-historic brick, which you see in the far left.
this one.
Okay. All right, is that the set of changes, or is there anything else?
That's everything.
Okay, all right. Any questions right now? And there's a lot, okay. Why don't we take testimony and then we'll come back. Judy Stanton? And after that, Barbara Zay.
Judy Stanton, speaking for the Brooklyn Heights Association. The Brooklyn Heights Association's Landmarks Committee has had the opportunity to review this application for 54 State and consider its impact on our historic district. During unapproved work by a prior owner in 2006 and 2007, the historic character of 54 State Street was seriously compromised. We welcome the pending application to remedy some of the losses to the building's historic character. It will complete the multi-year process of mitigating the adverse effects of that earlier non-compliant work. We support many elements of the current proposed scope of work, including the following. We approve the correction of all non-complying facade masonry, including restoration of bricks, brickwork, mortar, and windowsills on the main facade to match historic conditions. We approve the legalization of the entry door and transom configuration and the reintroduction of bluestone at the entry. We approve the relocation of the rooftop mechanical units to a less visible location and the legalization of the height of the current stair bulkhead. We also support the reduction of height of the existing ironwork fence at the areaway to better match its historic configuration. However, we do not support the applicant's request to legalize certain other conditions. We would like to see the stucco finish at the base of the main facade stripped, the exposed brickwork cleaned, repointed and restored, and the old window openings filled with matching brick and mortar joints as originally approved by the LPC. We would like also to see the concrete sidewalk removed and replaced with bluestone. The cornice needs further investigation. The current cornice is non-compliant and it was installed after the pre-2006 cornice and parapet were illegally removed. An appropriate restoration should be based on historical conditions as determined through field examination of surviving elements of 54 State and at the twin apartment building at 52 State and through historic photographs and other documentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Zay?
Good morning, Commissioners. Our comments are limited to the brickwork on the facade. The smooth brick stretchers and thin mortar joints are an important feature of this building, so our committee asks that the applicant work very closely with the staff to match the historic brick pattern. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers on this item? All right. Are there any more questions for the applicant right now? Okay. Why don't we go item by item?
Before we
Yes,
start
yes,
on that,
John,
I guess I have a question maybe for staff. I think I thought I misunderstood. So all of the approvals that were obtained by a prior owner, right?
He said it's the same owner.
Same owner. Okay, so that was the person who spoke was mistaken. So it's the same owner, right? They applied for and got approval for certain changes, and this owner is now proposing to, so we're not in a situation where it's a new owner and the new owner is faced with a problem that got dumped on them. We've got an owner who had approvals for certain changes and intentionally violated those approvals. Just to be clear, right?
That's
Okay, just wanna
my
know.
understanding.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Mark. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah. Oh, so a rogue contractor showed up and did this without the owner knowing. Okay, I just want to be clear. That's
Particularly unlucky
Various things
contractor.
happen, so,
I mean, unlucky client.
okay. Okay, so are we ready to sort of, I think the best way to sort of, I think, go through this is obviously is one by one. Some of the things they're proposing to retain, some of them they're changing, and so why don't we go through them one by one? So I think the first one is the cornice, which I understand the intent is at some point to change it, but not right now as a part of this package. Okay, comments on the cornice? Yeah,
See, I would think that the cornice should be identical, since we know it could be identical to the one next door. At least that's one more item that brings it closer to the original historic look, I would think.
and particularly because of the difference in grade on the street, the larger cornice they actually put in there, it looks disproportionate. I mean, it takes that little tiny difference if you look at the historic picture, and writes it large.
And also how it's attached to the building in terms of the space, the distance to the edge of the building could be corrected. So I think that that's a little item that takes it back.
all right, other comments on that? Your client wants to do it, so they could include it as a part of this package.
They could, yes.
Right, and probably they should, since there's a whole series of things that are for us, and it seems like it is really a very prominent part of the building, and so I think you want, right, okay, all right, so I think that we should recommend that they bring back the historic cornice and.
In the historic material.
And the historic material and connect it to the twin building or the adjacent building. All right, so the next is the windows. All right, any concerns about the windows?
They're
I think the sills are something which is a positive, since they're bringing it back to its historic configuration. And I think there's an overall sort of comment about the brickwork, and so that's something that I think we would want to recommend, that the pointing and the brickwork all becomes uniform as a part of this proposal.
and it's replacing the sills and the sort of staggered nature of the brickwork under the sills. Corbelling, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they're bringing back the
Thank you.
corbel. Okay. All right, okay. Then we go to the fence, and I don't have any concerns about the fence as they've proposed it. I think they're improving it from what it is right now, and I think it's, even if you see what was previously approved and you see what they proposed right now, is that there is, I guess there's a base to it to adjust for the slope, but I think that makes sense. Any concerns about the fence?
Not sure we would have approved, this commission might not have approved that.
The taller fence, I know. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay, the areaway, and, all right, so this is, I think the big issue here is about the stucco, and, so. And, right, it's, okay, right, so there, I think the recommendation from Brooklyn Heights Association is to actually go back to the brickwork all the way and go back to the historic windows and the configuration of that, bricked. Yes, Michael, what would you like to say?
Suggest that we be involved with a probe of that stucco first, because we
Okay.
don't know if they put a lath on the brick or if they actually scarified the original brick. If they scarified the original brick, we may want to ask for a replacement of that brick with new brick to match.
Okay.
But just say either existing or new to match.
It's probably it's probably likely if they did it all at one time, just like the door surround, it doesn't look as though they scarified the brick, right? The one contractor seems to have done that all at one time, so
So Jared, you're saying that, I'm sorry?
we'll certainly do a.
Most likely, it's going to be the same condition as the door surround.
Okay. So I know that was the Brooklyn Heights Association's recommendation. I think the applicant said that they want to just bring down the stucco to the level of entrance.
They don't want to do anything.
No, I think they,
They want to
I think,
legalize.
Legalize that.
oh, I thought you said you'd bring it down as a compromise? Okay.
That was a compromise that was discussed during the community board meeting, which
All right, and, but historically, there was brick all the way down, is that correct? Why don't we just ask them to bring it back to that condition? All right, so why don't we recommend that, and we can work with staff on that issue? Well, if you're going, I think that what you have right now seems unacceptable, and if you're going to take off the stucco, you might as well take off the stucco all the way down and bring back the historic.
I just didn't.
Okay, all right. Okay, what's this next? I think we're all fine with the bluestone over here. Okay. The sidewalk, comments?
So, well, it originally was some frayed, damaged bluestone and concrete, right? And so, and either side is concrete now,
Concrete.
and there is concrete now that's slightly lighter in color than the either
Right.
side of it.
Right, but the proposal is to just,
Is for legalization. Because the concrete is newer, so it's going to age and weather the same way.
It's not going to age.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
On either side. It has to be tinted in order to, it's not going to age.
Yeah, it won't.
But
All right.
previously, what was approved was bluestone, correct?
was bluestone.
Well, let
But-
me
yes,
just
yes.
caution, unless you get incredibly thick bluestone, which is almost, very difficult to get anymore, it just doesn't work.
Halliburton bluestone is still available. It's available as thick as 6 inches.
Well, it would be a precedent, because all over Brooklyn Heights and many other districts, tinted concrete is very acceptable, but not that concrete.
Well,
But
there-
I think that given that both sides are in concrete, I wouldn't have an issue if they tinted it, and if that's something that has been done in neighborhoods.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, there are also,
I don't think you can tint that concrete. I think
Oh, you'd have to actually remove it,
It's got to
okay.
come out and new concrete be
Right.
tinted.
It's a DOT
Less than
standard.
5%.
This is standard stuff. It just was wrong. This is
All right, and I think it
flagrantly wrong.
it looks very unfortunate, and we should ask them to change
but
that.
they're also going to have bluestone paving at the entry, right?
Right.
There's a small, and we often say, take the bluestone that's still existing and, regularize it, so I can.
But it's not existing anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But if it
Yeah.
were, and it were partial, we might say, lay it out this way and, whatever. So I don't find that, I find that okay.
Respected the law.
Yes, of course.
Have you reviewed the previous proposal and approval regarding the bluestone? Was there a specific reason why they said it should be done in bluestone?
Actually, that was the applicant's proposal at the time. And those 6, the photo you see on the top there, is the only photo we have of the pre-demo sidewalk. It just shows just the lower 2 flags. It shows 2 flags of bluestone, but also several flags of concrete. That's all we know of the
So we
previous
don't know
sidewalk.
how many.
We don't know how much bluestone was there. the applicant previously, at the time in '06, proposed all the new bluestone. And beyond it would have been required, probably been required. So that was what was approved. However, they installed the concrete instead. So, all we know, we know those two flags there were lost. We don't know what else may have been existing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so why don't we focus on the question, which is if it's, I know the previous approval was bluestone, but if they propose concrete which matched with the adjacent concrete, would we have any issues with that?
I think it should match the bluestone that's being installed in the.
Okay, so the tint should be,
Yeah.
that's fine.
No,
I don't know if
concrete
we-
to match,
yeah.
concrete tinted to match the bluestone.
They're replacing the tiles with new bluestone.
Right.
Concrete should be tinted to match the new bluestone. Yeah.
That frames
That seems
the
fine.
bluestone, so to speak, whatever, it's on each side, right?
Right, and I think, I think we're recommending that partly because the condition before this was implemented was just partly bluestone and just wasn't clear what the extent of it was, because it was concrete there as well.
But if it was approved, why are we changing that or reconsidering?
Because I think very often we may have projects where we approved and a new applicant or a new architect may come forward with a different proposal, and so then we view that proposal and see if it's appropriate. We'll see some other cases, you'll see. They come back all the time. Okay. And I think, yes, if you could move the last two. Okay, so the bulkhead, yes. Michael?
I think that the details of the bulkhead should be looked at with staff in terms of the coping and the way that it's done, so that it's commensurate with stuff that we normally approve. But I think that the parapet should be examined in relation to the neighbor, and if there is any detailing of the old parapet, either corbelling or stepping or a bluestone cap, it looks like there's some kind of projection there under the gutter. So I would ask them to try to match that and come back with a proposal that incorporates that restored detail and maybe somehow accommodates code for the roof deck in the context of a restored detail.
Okay, because it used to be in alignment, correct?
It wasn't in alignment, but it was probably matching the detail, but stepped up.
He said it was a
But
foot.
why wouldn't it have been in
There
alignment?
was a foot difference.
Right.
But now it's like 3 feet or something.
Yeah.
Right, the detail would have still been there, right? I mean, you would have had that same detail, so.
Commissioner, here's a photo
At the rear?
of the rear before the work had been completed. You can see they have a CMU wall just above it, and there's the historic wall had been stuccoed at the time.
Looks like they ripped something out. What
No.
do you think that was?
I'm not sure, I don't know what.
It looks like it was
It's all
probably
nice.
that, just like, you know, a piece, it might have been a piece of wood or a piece of bluestone or something that was yanked out.
We could also look at other rear facades and get into the buildings of this age and style to look at the
And it is something that's visible, and it's something that we normally would not let be removed in the first place, so.
Come back. Okay. And if we can go to the door, yes.
The last one? The AC locations?
Okay, the AC locations, I think, seems fine. Any concerns about that? They're going to reorient it, so in fact, you see fewer of the AC units. Okay. And the door?
It just reads very disproportionate. And I mean, now I understand it's because the stoop is gone, and so the door is dropped and the transom is tall, but it just looks disproportionate. So maybe if something could be done to change the trim, the wood trim, maybe thinner, maybe if the door actually had the oval curve at the top and the brickwork. It needs to be worked on.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have so many issues with it. Other commissioners? Any I just see that,
Front door, right?
I know it's the front door. They have this window, but it actually sort of seems to align itself with the the two windows on either side.
Yes, it does.
And I think that sort of change in proportion had sort of existed in this previous iteration. I mean, I don't feel strongly about
The
it.
only thing that looks, I think, incorrect to me is the thickness of the frame on the transom. It's not a normal window frame thickness. It's like they kind of custom did it to match the door. It just looks a little weird. And it doesn't match the approved plan either, which showed
A thinner
a
frame.
frame that was similar to a window frame.
Other comments?
Well, it seems like
Yes,
Seems like, I think the way it looks elongated is because, normally you would do a square on top, and I think if you make it, right now the proportions, because it looks elongated, so along with the thickness of the trim, I think if you make that a square proportion on the top, I think it may, just as a comment.
okay. No, that's helpful. Any other comment on that? Okay, well, it seems if there's, this feeling that the frame should be changed, in that case, if the frame is going to be changed, you can change the frame to a square frame, which may change the proportions. So, you understood what we said? No. Okay, so I think the concern is that the transom on top has a frame which is thicker than what you would normally see as a window frame. And if the recommendation to make this front door better includes changing the frame, then in that case, you might as well change the frame to a square frame and bring back the proportions that were previously approved.
If I could, the recommendation is to repoint around the brick.
Okay.
The brick frame, sorry, was the stucco frame around.
Now, that's right, but that was not,
Are you replacing those bricks as well?
Well, we're replacing one, that they're not matching, so you can see. in this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right, but,
But you've got those little queen fillers in there that.
Yeah.
right, but I'm sorry, was I mistaken regarding that? What frame are we talking about?
The frame of the.
Oh, okay, all right, I see, okay. So it's not about, okay, so it's not about the square, sorry, that was my
I was
mistake.
talking actually about the bulky frame around the transom. That's what I was talking about. But I think that the brick needs to also be repointed or replaced in some cases. So those are two different.
All right, anyway, since we're asking you to come back, look, there are five or six suggestions that we've made. I think you've heard them. You can, but, yes, Diana?
I'm sorry, I thought that we were just going to approve it with the changes, no?
I think, Michael, I'm okay with approving the change, but I think, Michael, you said that you want to... Okay, all right. Okay, good. I hope somebody's kept track of all these changes. Jared has. Okay, all right, I know.
Being the biggest, yeah.
Okay, so I think, there's been some very good suggestions here. I think we'll read them out. Jared has documented them, and you can work with staff. Okay, so in that case, why don't we close the hearing? And Roberta, you want to read that with Jared's? Okay.
Sorry, Jerry, so that should be fine. Okay, in the matter of 54 State Street, Brooklyn Heights Historic District, application is to alter the facade and areaway, relocate HVAC units, and legalize and modify facade and areaway alterations performed without Landmarks Preservation Commission permits. I recommend approval with modifications. Finding that the removal of the cast concrete window sills, none matching brick around the entrance, and black tile at the entrance will eliminate unsympathetic alterations that detract from the significant architectural features of the building. That the new cast stone seals and brick cobbling will match the size, coursing, and details of the historic window sills, returning these elements to a condition more in keeping with the building's original appearance. That the new brick around the entrance will match the historic brick in terms of size, color, texture, and coursing. That the relocation of the intercon conduit to the fence will allow the conduit to blend with the vertical pickets of the fence, thereby causing less attention to itself. That the light fixtures are in keeping with the size, style, and placement of light fixtures historically found on buildings of this age and style. That the application of stucco and alteration to the basement facade occur primarily below grade and behind the existing fence, making this change to the facade less apparent from the street.
I'm sorry, we should probably just omit that finding if we want the stucco to be
Okay, so
removed.
let's
We'll just strike that.
All right, well, okay. Just skip that, didn't say that. Okay, that the areaway railing will be lowered and the picket caps replaced, resulting in ironwork which closely recalls areaway railings found on buildings of this age and style. What's this one? That the stucco curb beneath the areaway railing is in keeping with fence curbs found in this district. That the previous bluestone sidewalk flags were damaged and of a limited number, therefore their removal did not result in loss of a significant amount of historic fabric, and that the adjacent sidewalks are untinted concrete, therefore the existing untinted concrete
We'll strike that one as well. We'll go for a tinted concrete sidewalk that matches the bluestone.
Okay, and that the sidewalk will be replaced with a tinted concrete sidewalk that matches the bluestone color. That the new bluestone entry paving will be in keeping with paving historically found at the building and district. That the HVAC sensor on the front facade does not call undue attention to itself. That the parapet walls at the rear and sides of the building are visible from limited locations and will not be seen in context with the front facade. Therefore, they do not detract from the special architectural or historic character of the building or district. That the rooftop air conditioning units will be relocated, making them minimally visible from a public thoroughfare. And that the existing entry door and transom, if the transom is modified with thinner wood trim, are in keeping with the material configurations and finishes of entrances historically found in the district. And that the entire front facade be repointed to repair the existing poor quality pointing and to create a consistent color, texture, and tooling condition. Actually, I already said that. And that the door transom be replaced with thinner framing and be arched to conform to the masonry opening.
And the cornice.
The cornice.
And the cornice, and that the existing cornice will be replaced with a cornice that more closely resembles the cornice on number 52 State Street.
Okay, that, exactly.
In both proportion and materials.
In both proportion and material. Did we get everything? Got it.
Oh.
No, we're just leaving that.
They will work on the details to add some corbelling or some
Oh, that's
capping. We'll look at it.
Yes, that the rear parapet wall contain cobbling or details found in the adjacent parapet.
And there's one more thing, which is that all the stucco will be removed and the brick restored behind it in the...
And at the side walls, at the stair, that all of the stucco found on the brick walls there be removed, and that the brick either be repaired or, depending on the condition, it may need to be replaced, but that the stucco be removed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Its application's been approved, and thank you for a very joint effort.